Remarkable! Incredible! Unbelievable!
Save! And Spark are champions! Good on Pepe! Goal!
It doesn't get any better than that!
My name is Austin Brummett. I'm a men's soccer player at San Diego State University and I play forward. The Salt Air Case helps block odor from my cleats when I'm driving in my car or when I'm keeping my cleats inside my house so I don't have to worry about it stinking up my room. It helps me keep track of my cleats and my shin guards so I know that they're together and I don't have to worry about tracking them down or losing them or stressing out about where they are. I would definitely rock this, walking to the games, walking around to my trainings. And it's super helpful for travel. When I travel in the airport to go to away games, it's not going to stink up my backpack or stink up the plane where I'm sitting. Magnetic strip on the top is super easy to open to take my cleats out and to put my cleats back in. I think it's an essential part of my outfit for soccer and helps keep all my stuff organized and stink-free.
That's a good bit of footwork there by Spalding. It's gone for a spacious shot! It's magnificent by Spalding!
It's a David and Goliath battle between two New York City boroughs, which of course will take place in tonight's feature as Richmond County Football Club represents Staten Island. Meanwhile, New York Pancyprian Freedoms proudly representing the borough of Queens here in this Eastern Premier Soccer League matchup, as the team in blue will be currently the league leaders as we speak, a topic of which we'll expand upon for now. But again, it will be the home side with possession of the sphere at their feet first. The referee says everything is in order and the ball is in fact rolling for New York Pancyprian Freedoms. As that ball was aimed toward Joe Holland, instead it eventually makes its way towards Siobhan John Brown. New York Pancyprian Freedoms momentarily intercepting it. Instead, it's with the very tall center back, Jack Slouse. Jack Slouse eventually playing it toward the left-hand side, a driven pass along the ground toward the left wing. Once more, the target man being Joe Holland, currently donning the number 10 on the back of his jersey. As that ball will make its way perhaps toward the goalkeeper. Instead, it's chipped over. Richmond County Football Club denied by the assistant referee's flag. Lots of audible gasps, sighs, and ahs, but at the end, it is in fact New York Pancyprian Freedoms that's perhaps saved by the assistant referee's flag. And after the first 61 seconds of play, we could also go over the conditions for tonight's match. Currently, we are at the freezing point. It is already that point, of course, in the autumn, not technically winter yet on this December 1st night. 32 degrees Fahrenheit exactly, as Joe Holland is onside along the left wing. He has various options toward the second post, drives it, but instead cleared away by a diving center back, specifically in the form of Yoni Zakoshansky. As New York Pancyprian Freedoms once more has to defend its own third. It's Jack Slouse that can corral it with various ease and with much ease more accurately. So again, 32 degrees Fahrenheit here. Although earlier, throughout the afternoon and throughout the day as a whole, the winds were ferocious. And I've said it time and time again as of late in New York City weather, which in fact might have affected the keeper's pass, a distribution effort from Joshua Levine, momentarily interrupted. Maybe a case of the turf monster here, though we'll see. As for now, the Pancyprian Freedoms go unpunished. It's with Luis Argudo. Luis Argudo, dispossessed, has his pocket picked. Here comes Richmond County Football Club. A strong tackle from behind and an extra shove. Well, let me tell you, in Richmond County FC's penultimate match, New York Greek American Soccer Club was handed a red card for this sort of situation. And in fact, it was Greek Americans Aberauk, if I remember correctly, or Oberauk more accurately, who had committed an extra shove post-foul. Not that he was the original committer, but in this sort of situation, the referee does want to instill order. The question now is, will he pull out a card just under 3 minutes into this game? And to answer that question quickly, it's a resounding yes. Issued toward Luis Argudo, the number 6 for New York Pancyprian Freedoms. Richmond County Football Club, in its last 2 fixtures, did have to face 2 of the top 3 Metropolitan Titans. This would complete essentially the hat trick of Titans. That being said, though, before we expand upon that topic, it will be Richmond County Football Club that has a free kick. Joshua Levine currently reassembling his wall. It's only a 2-man barrier. So taking his gamble here with a not so extensive wall, Levine squatting right on his goal line. Richmond County Football Club looking for the initial advantage, going toward the far post. Never going to threaten Levine. A shotgun cross that surprised not only the goalkeeper, but also perhaps the set piece taker's teammates. So for New York Pancyprian Freedoms, Luis Argudo wears the number 6. Jordan Bailon wears the number 15. The number 7 belongs to Siobhan John Brown. The number 20, currently donned by Rafael Bustamante. Harry Cook dons the number 21. Samir Fatahazada wears the number 17. Matthew Forster wears the number 13. Thomas Gray, the owner of the number 22 in this game. Devin Hinu wears the number 18. Joseph Holland, the target man perhaps in this roster given his 9 goals throughout the campaign so far, has the number 10 etched onto his back. Andreas Iosifidis wears the number 8. The number 1, of course, worn by the goalkeeper Joshua Levine. Junior Rosero wears the number 23. Atanasis Shahade wears the number 12. Jack Slaus wears the number 4. Sean Towney is the owner of the number 16. James Tristino wears the number 9. And Konstantinos Sioros wears the number 19. Of course, those have been your numbers for New York Pancyprian Freedoms, who at this moment have yet to test the gloves of a perhaps cold at this moment Jetmir Kovacevic. Being a goalkeeper in these freezing conditions is possibly one of the more grueling tasks, not simply because of the mental pressure perhaps from the goalkeeper position itself, but really because you are standing still at some points in the game in these frigid conditions. That will get to you really quickly if you're not wearing the appropriate attire, namely thermals, as this cross is quickly blocked, I believe by the backside of Sean Towie, as James Tristino. James driving it along the right wing. He's clearly offside. That was Siobhan John Brown. Not arguing at all about that one. The assistant referee immediately raising it. Of course, I am Sean Cabrera. Behind the camera is Jorge Espinosa, and you are watching the Eastern Premier Soccer League on Game in Frame. Playing it centrally, trying to pass it with the left foot. Instead, it's intercepted by Jack Slaus and company. Dropped back for Jordan Bailon. It's now with the goalkeeper who's forced to clear it just outside his penalty area. A clearance gone through pass that could never really beat the tall head of Zakoshansky. As it's still with Richmond County Football Club, forced to retreat temporarily into its own back line. Zagañor was offside by about half a body, but it's still the correct decision. Speaking of which, for today's roster for Richmond County FC, Giuseppe Barone wears the number 19. Kemal Brekanovic wears the number 31. Pietro Giove currently dons the number 27. Christopher Gini wears the number 23. Peter Gini wears the number 18. Armando Guarnera wears the number 2. Jetmir Kovacevic, the goalkeeper, of course with the number 1 on his back, on his neon green top. As Mohamedou Ndaye wears the number 5. Angelo Quintanilla wears the number 20. Valery Saramutin wears the number 21, as New York Pancyprian Freedoms forced into an uncomfortable position. Though at the end, the Cypriots never panicked, as that's a fancy use of the heel by John Siobhan Brown. Along the right wing is Tristino, who was left completely unmarked. It's a pass that's ultimately intercepted by the back line of Richmond County Football Club. Zagañor pulling the trigger, thinking about it once more. First touch, not necessarily there. Too many blue jerseys to truly make an impact. And that ball goes out of play in favor of Richmond County Football Club. Speaking of which, Mark Schnattstein wears the number 9. Jacob Schumanski wears the number 14. Demian Turi wears the number 22. And Adnan Zagañor wears the number 24. Richmond County Football Club, coached by Halid Brekanovic. New York Pancyprian Freedoms regaining the ball by the neutral third. Jack Slaus now pausing it with his right foot. Asking for the ball is his number 9, James Tristino. As James Tristino can maybe capitalize on that error. Here comes Tristino, the number 9, thinking about it, going for the near post instead. Swatted with one hand by Kovacevic. Trying to catch the goalkeeper in no man's land. Though Jetmir Kovacevic was well positioned, Tristino with the correct decision at the end, as all the other second post options were well marked. Had the appropriate amount of power. He's an adept player, shooting it with the right foot from that situation. He's won his side a corner kick, the first of its kind, in fact, in this fixture. It will be an inward swinger, as one arm is raised, a left-footed cross as well, toward the near post. I believe it bounced off the head of Angelo Quintanilla, as we have back-to-back corner kicks, both in favor, of course, of New York Pancyprian Freedoms. Crossed once more, left-footed toward the near post, never going to surprise Richmond County FC. A hat trick of corner kicks here, all in successive fashion here in this December 1st affair. As there's a near post option, or in fact a nearby option, in the form of Joe Holland, who tries crossing it once more toward the near post. Well, maybe the fourth time is the charm, though we'll see that, as it's at the feet of Sean Towie. Chasing down the ball is Yoni Zakoshansky, as that ball eventually trickles out of play by a somewhat desperate clearance. And pardon me, I believe that's actually Christopher Genie, allow me to correct myself, wearing the number 23 for today. So again, Richmond County FC, in its last two away fixtures, had to play against last season's conference regular season champion, Lansdowne Yonkers FC, and the latest Eastern Premier Soccer League titleist, New York Greek American Soccer Club. Now, even though the Staten Islanders found a way to contain the former with a commendable 1-1 result, they were overpowered by the latter last Sunday in a 2-0 loss. Of course, after traversing through Brooklyn to arrive in this part of Queens, Richmond County FC must now confront the third colossus of this competition, New York Pancyprian Freedoms. Always one of the favorites to win the EPSL Metropolitan Conference. Always a powerhouse, of course. As we do have somewhat of a vocal fan base here, something that I in fact admire and adore. It always adds to the environment here. As this one is crossed, almost thinking about the acrobatic effort, was Zaganyor, opting not to connect fully. It would have required an Ibrahimovic-like touch and finish, though you would need years of Taekwondo in order to pull off that sort of stunt. As that's a really short pass that should have never been intercepted. Richmond County FC trying to profit from Jordan Bailon's giveaway, but instead they return the favor, providing the sphere to the blue jerseys. Tristino, along the right wing, evades one, evades Genie. Driving it down the center, thinking about options, is Joe Holland. Connects with the left wing. He's onside! It's Yetmian with the save. The follow-up ends up in the back of the net. Goal for New York Pancyprian Freedoms. Now, Richmond County FC was asking for the offside call. However, the assistant referee, very firm in his decision. And with that sort of confidence, it's really hard to argue against that sort of arbitration. At the end, it is in fact New York Pancyprian Freedoms that gets the advantage here, 1-0. Joe Holland connecting with the left winger, who, if I'm not mistaken, was Chiffon John Brown. And it was merely not necessarily a giveaway, but a rebound that favored New York Pancyprian Freedoms after Kovacevic denied the shot taker in the first place. As Richmond County FC has to play behind in the scoreline. The Staten Islanders giving away the ball in the neutral third. As that's poked forward, or I should say backwards, by Luis Argudo. Playing it toward a nearby Devin Hinu. An ambitious pass along the left wing. Maybe a favorable foul here in favor of New York Pancyprian Freedoms. Very late to the challenge, though there wasn't any malice behind it. Merely missed the first tackle. Tried to rebound it himself, essentially. Siobhan John Brown, the initial shot taker, who had tested the gloves of Yetmir Kovacevic in that one-on-one, gone 2-on-1 following the rebound. Sean Towie toward Luis Argudo. And instead it will be another throw-in for New York Pancyprian Freedoms. Who, of course, are the newest United States Adult Soccer Association National Amateur Cup victors, who for now sit at the head of the conference table and are more than willing to capitalize on their newly promoted foes' shaky form in order to further secure their position before the winter break. As that one is played almost centrally, now that one is a very questionable challenge that the referee must determine whether is book-worthy or not. He did come quite late. Not only that, he came from behind, almost in a studs-up-like manner, but for now, I believe it's Zagañor who can consider himself lucky. If not Zagañor, it might have been instead Valery Saramutin. In fact, it was Valery Saramutin. This one crossed, Yetmir Kovacevic, sliding really inside his own 6-yard box to clear it away. Not too often you get to see a goalkeeper interfere with crosses like that. I can hear my goalkeeper coach screaming in my ear now, hands first, hands first. But in this modern game that fuses not only outdoor soccer, naturally, with the fast-paced action of futsal, naturally you get to see fusions like those. I wouldn't be surprised if Yetmir Kovacevic does have a background in futsal, given his confidence with the ball at his feet, not to mention his one-on-one capacities. As there's a follow-up effort here for Richmond County Football Club. Adnan Zagañor dropping it back. Still with the Staten Islanders. And that's a lovely, lovely sliding challenge done by Tristino to win the ball back for the local side here of Queens, New York. As a lob through pass was never able to beat the back line, specifically Armando Guarnera. Now at the feet of Pietro Giove. Pietro Giove toward Valery Saramutin. Saramutin back to Adnan Zagañor. Still at the feet of Richmond County Football Club, Angelo Quintanilla driving it along the right wing. Instead, he can't steer it in the right direction, veering off course. Instead of staying on the Grand Central Parkway, it instead made its way toward LaGuardia Airport. So for now, it will be a goal kick for New York Pancyprian Freedoms. As the goalkeeper takes his time readjusting this ball for the goal kick, I do want to remind you that today's Game and Frame broadcast has been brought to you by Salt Athletic. Salt Athletic has made the world's freshest, most advanced cleat bag to save athletes as well as their nearest and dearest from smelly footwear after the game. The air case blocks smell using antimicrobial technology that makes for odor-free car rides and houses. As New York Pancyprian Freedoms was starting to feel the pressure of Adnan Zagañor and company. But learn more about Aircase and place your order by clicking the link below. Keep it fresh. As Joe Holland, with an aggressive shoulder, was momentarily able to win the ball, it's with Tristino. Tristino, with one step over, two step overs, was unable to fool the opponent with the second effort. As now Richmond County Football Club likewise wants to use the extremities of the field. Currently in the driver's seat was the number 22 for Richmond County Football Club. In other words, Demian Turi. But he was never able to beat Jack Slouse & Co. Pass toward the left wing. Interference from Armando Guarnera. As Adnan Zagañor plays it all the way back. First to his center back, now to Yetmir Kovacevic, who plays it toward a nearby midfielder who had to drop back quite a touch. I believe it might have been Pietro Giove, and it was in fact Pietro Giove, who was a member of the Team of the Week in the EPSL Metropolitan Conference. He was a very busy player. Up and down, left and right, all over the pitch. Very impressive to be part of the Team of the Week in the Metropolitan Conference, especially when considering that during that span, Richmond County Football Club had in fact lost to a 10-man New York Greek American soccer club. Dropped back for now. Playing it quickly was Jordan Bailon. Lobbed pass, onside according to the assistant referee's flag. Joe Holland undoubtedly was in a legal position. The question was whether Luis Argudo was. Play toward the left-hand side, where Demian Turi is waiting. Demian Turi, with several rollovers with his left foot, opted for a right-footed pass at the end. New York Pancyprian Freedoms once more taking control of the ball. So this is a far cry for Richmond County FC in comparison to its start versus New York Greek American Soccer Club, where in that game, Richmond County Football Club had controlled possession for the first half of the first half. In other words, the first 22 to 25 minutes about was a pure Richmond County FC game in terms of possession. The New York Pancyprian Freedoms making sure to mark its territory early, not only with an opening goal within the first quarter hour of this fixture, but also with dominance over the sphere itself. As the throne will be taken by the team in blue, New York Pancyprian Freedoms, the latest USASA National Amateur Cup champions. As that turns into a very fortuitous pass, somehow making its way towards Siobhan John Brown. It's with Joe Holland. Holland! Goal! Make that goal number 10 for the number 10. An excellent ball from Siobhan John Brown, pinpointing Joe Holland, the talisman, the sharpshooter, who of course bags his 10th goal according to the EPSL stats. 2-0 in favor of New York Pancyprian Freedoms. Richmond County FC must now dig itself from a 2-goal hole in this first half. Excellent assist by Siobhan John Brown. Maybe just one of those instances where the assist is a little more pretty, or I should say prettier for the camera than maybe the goal itself. But regardless, Joe Holland needed to know where to position himself, tested the perseverance and might of Jetmir Kovacevic, who we labeled earlier in this game as a very solid goalkeeper in one-on-one situations. And speaking of goalkeepers, Joshua Levine, for the first time in a very long while, needed inside his own 18-yard box, as he opts to play it straight from the hand toward the left-hand side. Looking for a similar play, Siobhan John Brown was onside, timing his run perfectly, staying parallel to the number 14 of the opposition, who today is Jacob Szumanski. New York Pancyprian Freedoms looking for a trifecta of goals in this first half. 2 unanswered goals so far in this game. However, we still have quite a lot of time left. Just under 70 minutes about. Call it 66 or so. More than enough time for Richmond County Football Club to not only diminish that lead, but perhaps find an equalizer, though it would take something akin to an early Christmas miracle. As Richmond County FC, with a very swift interception, pushing it forward all for himself, is Angelo Quintanilla, who for now wins the throw-in, seems satisfied with it. At least now the momentum has shifted quite a bit alongside possession of the ball. Thrown inside the 18-yard box, bouncing off several torsos. Interference from Jack Slouse, not allowing the ball to reach his goalkeeper. The first line of defense, Jack Slouse once more involving himself. It's with Siobhan John Brown and Joe Holland. As Joe Holland, after some fancy half pirouettes, eventually gets the ball at his own 2 feet and even draws the foul to put the cherry on top of that dribbling sundae. As Joe Holland is asking for a card against his opponent, and understandably so. Late to the party was Christopher Genie, if I'm not mistaken, as he doesn't realize he's offside in this moment. Good eye from Richmond County FC. In an offside position was Matthew Forster. Well, so far the counterattack game for New York Pancyprian Freedoms has been close to immaculate in this first half. That sudden change of pace has punished Richmond County FC on 2 occasions so far within these opening 25 minutes, or more accurately, within the opening 22 minutes or so. Lobbed left-footed pass. He should be offside. He is offside. The assistant referee immediately raising it as soon as that sphere touched the left cleat of the left winger. Played back for Richmond County Football Club, Jacob Shumansky playing it toward the nearest fullback. Another throw in here for Richmond County Football Club as the referee issues a momentary pause. Live here from this very impressive venue in New York City, the St. John's University Red Storm Soccer Stadium, in other words, Belson Stadium, where the aforementioned Red Storm plays. Previously also momentarily home for a short while to New York City FC 2, as well as New York City FC in MLS Next competition, as the referee has pulled out a yellow card and several shoves are currently being implemented as Joe Holland continues to argue his case. The referee trying to instill order as Adnan Zaganyor attempts to talk to the arbitrator himself. The referee hunting down Joe Holland, certainly to book him here. And he's certainly getting an earful from the referee in yellow, as Joe Holland is immediately booked with the yellow. Well, maybe unintentionally, it was a physical tete-a-tete between Joe Holland and his opponent. And speaking of which, Adnan Zaganyor warning his teammates to not involve themselves any further. Well, it seems like wherever Richmond County FC goes, yellow cards follow them, or more accurately, their opponent. Bookings left and right as a throw-in is taken by the away side, by Richmond County Football Club. The Staten Islanders! It required a two-handed save. Ball is still live, however. Good stuff by Joshua Levine. That ball was coming down with a lot of ferocity as Siobhan John Brown. That's a lovely ball for Tristino. Tristino outside the 18-yard box. Strong right-footed touch. Crossed! Oh, I think that's Kovacevic who interferes at the very last second. Very hard to tell as to who had touched the ball last. All we can confirm was that a Richmond County FC player undoubtedly interfered in that cross. Though how on earth did Tristino had that much space, that much real estate on the right wing? Speaking of which, Tristino once more on the ball with a lot of space. There's a Richmond County FC player down on the ground, hoping maybe for the blow of a whistle for a de facto injury timeout. As eventually that ball does go out of play, and the Richmond County FC player can get the attention that he needs And hopefully it doesn't require anything more serious, specifically the training staff, though that we'll confirm here. As he's slow to get up, but eventually does so. Well, you don't want to be down on the ground for too long. In some leagues, which includes MLS, by the way, Major League Soccer, if you're on the ground for a certain amount of time, the referee would be forced to have you off the field for an X amount of time. And all this is done in an effort to prevent time wasting and to truly make sure that the player gets the medical attention that he or she deserves. For instance, I believe in Major League Soccer, if a player is down for more than 10 seconds, then the referee has to pause the game, and that player not only must leave the field, but must stay off the field of play itself for about a minute or less. Ball in the neutral third. However, Schnattstein, with a lot of company marking him, it was Jack Slaus that hardly gave him any space to work. As once more, Richmond County FC playing the low pressure game in the neutral third, but the Staten Islanders must be wary of these sudden changes of pace as Siobhan John Brown evades one marker, has to drop it all the way back toward Jordan Bailon. Bailon toward the left wing. Well, the left back is asking for the pass, but it's not he who receives the ball. It's in fact Jack Slaus, the center back, who defensively has been incredibly sound throughout the entire first half at this moment. Lovely through pass inside the 18-yard box, chopping one way, shooting with the outside part of the foot, yet mid! With a good kick save at the end to deny New York Pancyprian Freedoms the third goal, Joe Holland. Oh, that's a driven cross if I've seen one. Siobhan John Brown still onside, playing it along the left wing. Currently 4 blue jerseys inside the 18-yard box, none of which that received the center at the end. As New York Pancyprian Freedoms commits the sin in the opposition's territory. We are past the half-hour mark here, where it is currently 2-0 in favor of the local side. In fact, we're past the 32nd minute now, as we are expecting a duo of substitutions for the local team here. Although I'm seeing Joe Holland first walking to the sideline, alongside Luis Argudo. So both those aforementioned players have been substituted here in this first half for now, which is a somewhat surprising decision, given that those two, alongside Siobhan John Brown, have been the heartbeat of the offense. As Richmond County FC plays a game of keep away involving one of the latest substitutes in this game, Junior Rosero. A very familiar name in the New York City soccer scene, especially at the semi-pro and amateur level here, as Richmond County Football Club looks to etch a name for itself here, as it's with Schnattstein. Schnattstein, cross just outside the penalty area, in fact, right on the edge of the penalty arc itself. And that could turn into a deadly giveaway for Ndaye, crossing it towards Zagañor, never testing the goalkeeper, encountering a blue brick wall. Not crumbling for now, though Ndaye with some very fancy flicks, some 2 fancy moves that in fact allow New York Pancyprian Freedoms to win back the momentum and win back possession, as Tristino is unable to keep it in play. Scanning quickly is the throw-in taker, Damian Turi. Rosero in the driver's seat. Rosero with a delicate pass toward the right-hand side. He cuts it centrally. is still with the player before Rosero once more. Rosero thinking about the shot, trying to stun Yetmir from outside the 18-yard box, an effort from give or take 25 yards away from goal. But the Colombian himself was never able to truly test the goalkeeper's gloves with his first effort. Scoreline remains intact since the 22nd minute, 2-0. Yetmir has been needed already in several occasions. In fact, the first goal was a result of a parry of his in which he did do an outstanding one-on-one save against Siobhan John Brown from essentially point-blank range, but the rebound just merely never favored the goalkeeper. As the goal kick is played short, just outside the 18-yard box, toward the left-hand side, Ndaye was originally the target. Instead, it makes its way toward Adnan Zaganyor. Schnattstein toward the number 21 for today of Richmond County FC, worn today by Saramutin. Along the right wing, thinking about the early cross toward the second post at the end. Not enough curl to truly test Levine. Instead, the netminder, wearing a black top, pink socks, and pink shorts, merely had to strip the ball while it was in the air. As he decides to catapult it toward his left-hand side, New York Pancyprian Freedoms. Now entrusting the footwork of their number 7, Siobhan John Brown. Toward the right wing it goes. Thinking about a left-footed cross, it makes its way toward the second post. Richmond County Football Club not allowing any blue jersey to get nearby. In fact, not the best of crosses, not because of the passer himself, but rather because there were no options at that moment. Had he burned for a couple more seconds, then maybe, just perhaps, he would have had a feasible option. As Adnan Zaganyor commits an unintentional handball in his attempt to control the bouncing sphere. As the Montenegrin continues to march forward, hoping that his right winger could accompany him, but instead, once more, pushed off the ball, but he does win the throw-in. Winning it in that case was Angelo Quintanilla. As we are within the final 7 minutes of this first half. Well, I must say time does fly. I can't believe we're already approaching the 45th minute. Especially with these freezing conditions, as Schnattstein forces Jack Slaus into shielding the ball, occulting it from him. Joshua Levine, however, quick to rush away from his goal line, drops it at his own 2 feet. Attempts a dagger-like piece of distribution toward Rosero. New York Pancyprian Freedoms. Back to Rosero, who has Siobhan John Brown. Instead, it's switched toward Tristino, dealt with for now by the Richmond County FC back line. Ndaye dropping that pass back with his head. Receiving it once more is Ace Mohamedou Ndaye. Gini. Or specifically, Christopher Gini, as Peter Gini is wearing the number 18. Shumansky. Back to Christopher Gini, who toward his left-hand side has a very open Demian Turi. In fact, that left wing, quite open for now. Ace. Ndaye, using his cleat to roll it backwards. And in an attempt to switch the play, it only bounces off the chest of a Pancyprian. I believe more specifically off the chest of Samir Fatahazada. Fatahazada. Richmond County FC looking to surprise the home side here. Though by the time they've recovered the ball, the Staten Islanders, the Queens representatives have already accumulated all of their defenders. A back line of 4, eventually turned 5 with a drop back midfielder. In other words, essentially a 3-on-5 situation that heavily favored the players in blue. So much so that a free kick will go in favor of New York Pancyprian Freedoms. A free kick from a sharp angle inside his own third, albeit. As we are now past the 39th minute. Over the head of Fatahazada. Fatahazada toward Jack Slaus. Maybe a serendipitous pass. I'm not sure he truly meant that, but it still made its way toward the tall center back, Jack Slaus. If it works, it works. New York Pancyprian Freedoms currently being trapped along their left border of play, so much so that Joshua Levine was forced into clearing it in that same exact direction. Although his body language tells me that that's not the original play that he had wanted. As that's once more another deadly pass that Tristino nearly controls in a sliding manner as well, but Richmond County Football Club can for now count their blessings. As Ace Mohamedou Ndaye being told to receive the throw-in. New York Pancyprian Freedoms quick to take the ball away. Ndaye returning the favor, still with Richmond County Football Club. And at the end it's Tristino. Toward Rosero. Switching the play, making it look very easy. That ball gliding in the air as Rafael Bustamante, one of the latest entries, unable to corral the ball away from his opponent. So we have seen some sparks fly here in this finger-numbing cold. Going over the head of Zagagnor, it was Schnatzstein, who was unable to do much with it. In fact, a desperate pass at the end, as Ace asks for the pass. Mohamedou Ndaye. Ace, no-look pass to Schnatzstein, the number 9 of Richmond County Football Club for today. Levine clearing it in that same direction over the head of Tristino, and in fact into the stands here. A small EPSL souvenir that doesn't really last long in the hands of the fan. As New York Pancyprian Freedoms regains possession of the ball. Again, 2-0, the latest goal coming from Joe Holland, receiving a decisive pass from Siobhan John Brown. And again, according to the EPSL site itself, Joe Holland has scored now 10 goals. In fact, New York Pancyprian Freedoms has had a stellar season all throughout, starting its campaign with a convincing 4-0 away win against Central Park Rangers. Followed that performance up with another away win, 4-1 versus SC Vistula Garfield. Once more, another away win was in the books when it dethroned Kid Super Samba 5-0 in its home. Followed that one up with yet another visiting win, this time against Manhattan Celtic. In its first home game, however, according to the EPSL, New York Pancyprian Freedoms had to be satisfied with a 2-2 tie versus Lansdowne Yonkers FC. Again, one of the powerhouses in the EPSL itself. And followed that one up with another home performance, a 4-2 victory versus Hoboken FC, one of the oldest clubs in the United States. And after that Hoboken win, was able to once more beat Doxa in a 2-1 affair in a Hellenic bout of sorts. And followed that one up with another home performance, a 4-0 win versus Umschneid as Tristino, yes, is able to bury it toward the far post. Tristino with a serene finish, finding exactly which pocket he had wanted to slot it to. A blink and you miss it play once more. New York Pancyprian Freedoms, not once, not twice, but now thrice, capitalizing on those quick changes, on that blistering pace. Tristino with a goal to his name in this match. New York Pancyprian Freedoms is second to none in this league with that sort of play. Bang bang sequences that more times often than not are punishing, are in fact scoreboard changing. So Tristino makes it 3-0 here as we are about 10 seconds away from the completion of the 45th minute. After that, we would be in stoppage time in the first half. And that appears to be an innocent collision, though the referee may have to pause the game here for an injury. Looks like Richmond County FC, however, won't be so merciful as Andan Zagañor drops it back. Pietro Giove was playing it toward the right-hand side. Although it's hard to tell who's down on the ground, a part of me wants to say that it's Siobhan John Brown. And it is, in fact, the number 7. So for Tristino, that's 5 goals on the season, according to the EPSL stats. And in the meanwhile, as this player recovers, we can resume with the season so far. It was a 4-0 win versus Zoomschneider FC. That was its penultimate match. And most recently, New York Pancyprian Freedoms, perhaps the fans, for the first time in a very long while, were chewing, biting on their fingernails as it was able to scrape a 1-0 victory versus New York Athletic Club. That being said, though, right here in this St. John's University venue, it's 3-0 in the first half. And so far, we're having a lot of contenders for man of the match. Depends from which standpoint you want to view this game. Whether you want to look at it from the creative standpoint, it's really hard to deny Siobhan John Brown of this unofficial award. By that same virtue, if you're looking at it from a pure forward standpoint, Tristino has been practically immaculate in this first half, controlling various long passes, not to mention finding a goal of his own. And then where would Joe Holland be? Of course, scoring that second goal, being well positioned and always being a threat to the back line. However, before we could even expand upon the unofficial man of the match award here in this first half at this moment, that would be the last touch of the ball. And after the first period of play, it is New York Pancyprian Freedoms 3, Richmond County FC 0. Of course, New York Pancyprian Freedoms with this 3-goal lead. So do stay tuned as we present the plays of the week, halftime analysis, and second half. This is the EPSL on Game in Frame.
Holland, Rosero, beautiful Junior Rosero! Well, that was an emphatic strike.
Cisse pushing forward. Looking up to see who he can pass the ball to. Takes a shot instead and scores!
They'll punch it back in. For one! Great save! A second! That almost came up on the handle. Gottlieb, his chance is still gone and not away. That's 2 saves for Priyanka. Sebastian Ruiz. That's floating, great ball! Solano equalizes for Renegades! And the cup dream is alive once again!
He spins very well, once, not once, but twice.
Drop the possession right back to the feet of Clift. Clift slides one in. Diving header, Bonfils for 2.
So good all game, Chang, but it's one back, and Kershuba could be in now, and Kershuba, what a save that is!
Looks like it was a handball claim for the team in black. And Perez is out of net, and Body finds the net, and he scores!
Tristino, oh, it's a beautiful flick on Argudo. Does he take it himself? Yes, he does! It'll be Bacon shooting for the far post. It's in! She beat the goalkeeper to the far post, and it's 1-0. Bacon with a free kick.
If he misses this, Renegades are very nearly home. Edward saves it! The fairy tale is within Renegade's grasp!
This from his man to Campos, and Campos just, oh, his touch took away from him. And now Marti across to Rura, and Mark Rura, goal!
Well, Cifuentes Diaz making the defenders do the Cupid shuffle.
And he's got tons of space to maybe have an effort, and streaking through the right-hand side is Alsabi, and Pidgeot shoots, and what a finish that is.
Perhaps they'll look to let the seconds bleed like this instead. It's a giveaway for Dambeli!
Here goes Jimmy. Over to Barry, the man in question. Barry takes a long shot and scores!
Are they going to their first ever Open Cup? Redemption for Oscar Rivas! And a fairy tale ending to a fairy tale week for New York Renegades!
My name is Austin Brummett. I'm a men's soccer player at San Diego State University, and I play forward. The salt air case helps block odor from my cleats when I'm driving in my car or when I'm keeping my cleats inside my house, so I don't have to worry about it stinking up my room. It helps me keep track of my cleats and my shin guards, so I know that they're together, and I don't have to worry about tracking them down or losing them or stressing out about where they are. I would definitely rock this, walking to the games, walking around to my trainings. And it's super helpful for travel. When I travel in the airport to go to away games, it's not going to stink up my backpack or stink up the plane where I'm sitting. Magnetic strip on the top is super easy to open to take my cleats out and to put my cleats back in. I think it's an essential part of my outfit for soccer, and it helps keep all my stuff organized and stink-free.
That's a good bit of footwork there by Spalding, who's gone for a spacious shot! It's magnificent by Spalding!
And before we could delve into the halftime analysis, today's Game and Frame broadcast has been brought to you by Salt Athletic. Salt Athletic has made the world's freshest, most advanced cleat bag to save athletes as well as their nearest and dearest from smelly footwear after the game. The Aircase blocks smell using antimicrobial technology that makes for odor-free car rides and houses. Learn more about Aircase and place your order by clicking the link below. Keep it fresh. So, across the Delaware River, Northeast, Metropolitan, and Mid-Atlantic conferences combined, only 3 teams are invincible at this moment. New York Pancyprian Freedoms, whose 8 wins, 0 losses, and 1 tie record is really amongst the best of those elite members. And it also possesses the hardest to beat defensive core, which has conceded as little as 7 goals, as you can see right now on your screen, and has collected 4 shutouts since the September start. So right now, no other EPSL club has allowed fewer goals, nor has any other EPSL club acquired more clean sheets than this unbeaten behemoth of Queens. Now, Richmond County Football Club, on the other hand, has only won once in its last 7 matches. And of course, as you can see here, its record of 2 wins, 4 losses, and 3 ties places it just 3 spots above the relegation zone. Of course, the relegation zone being 12th place, Richmond County FC currently in 9th place. Now, the Staten Island side can possibly overtake 8th place if it manages to scavenge a point tonight. But historically, as we can see here, this home side rarely gives any sort of leftovers. Perhaps considered an apex predator here in Queens. That being said, though, anything is still possible, as now we could take a general look and go over the overall standings. New York Pancyprian Freedoms has 25 points once more with 8 wins, 1 tie, 0 losses. That is a near perfect record. It's an invincible record, in fact. One of 2 teams in the Metropolitan Conference that possesses that. In second place, we find New York Greek American Soccer Club with 22 points. However, with the match played, given that they have already played 10, Pancyprian Freedoms with 9. Tied on points with 22, even on goal differential or goal difference, is Lansdowne Yonkers FC, currently in 3rd place, likewise 22 points. However, New York Greek American Soccer Club has scored 32 goals compared to Lansdowne Yonkers 30. Manhattan Celtic currently takes that 4th place spot for the playoffs with 19 points, has a goal differential of 7. Interestingly enough, however, Hoboken FC is currently placed at 5th, likewise has 15 points, and even though has a better goal differential, it's interesting to note that perhaps there is something to really observe there with Hoboken FC. Maybe it does have to do as well with fair play rules. After Hoboken FC is New York Athletic Club with 13 points in 6th place. After New York Athletic Club is Central Park Rangers FC, 11 points so far this season. The last double-digit point team at this point on December 1st is Kid Super Samba AC, 10 points exactly, with a record of 2 wins, 4 losses, and 4 ties. Richmond County FC, the away side in today's bout, has a record of 2 wins, 3 draws, and 4 losses, and has 9 points. Below Richmond County FC is Doxa FCW. So there is a 4-point gap there. So for now, Richmond County FC is safe. However, you don't want to count all your eggs before they hatch, as some do say. You want to go counting all your chickens, as others also tend to say. Regardless, the sentiment is still the same. Yes, a 4-point gap is there, but let's look at what's happening, for example, in La Liga in Spain, where Barcelona has been unable to win its last 3 La Liga matches, allowing Real Madrid perhaps an advantage there, assuming that Real Madrid can win at least its next 2 matches. So a similar circumstance can happen there between Doxa FCW, and Richmond County FC. Of course, only time will tell, but Richmond County FC is in dire need of points. Below Doxa FCW is SC Vistula Garfield with 4 points, likewise tied on 4 points, but currently down in the standings due to a negative goal differential of -16 or -16 is Zoomschneider FC. So of course, that is your overall standing for now in the Metropolitan Conference. as the first players to emerge on the field are those of Richmond County Football Club. Richmond County Football Club, of course, wearing an all-white uniform. New York Pancyprian Freedoms, who have yet to appear for now, still in their locker room chats, are wearing an all-blue kit. And we can perhaps go straight into the halftime analysis now that we have discussed all this prior context and all this live action right before the winter break. For some teams, this is the penultimate match right before that months-long pause of action in the EPSL. So for New York Pancyprian Freedoms, one thing has gone really well, aside from the general game, of course, given this 3-0 upper hand for the Cypriots. It's the fact that they have been absolutely dominant when it comes to that change of speed. It cannot be emphasized enough. That sudden acceleration, just that extra touch, if not off the ball touch, is what has really granted New York Pancyprian Freedoms this 3-0 advantage in the first half. We've seen it from various occasions. Firstly, we can note it from the first goal. Joe Holland playing it over towards Siobhan John Brown. And yes, it did result in what was supposed to be an impressive Kovacic save. However, he didn't account for Forster, who was able to score his 4th goal of the season, according to the stats here. So Forster, of course, in a good position, well positioned. Onside, according to the assistant referee's flag. Same could be said for Siobhan John Brown. But you have to take a look at these off-the-ball movements. New York Pancyprian Freedoms, second to none. Not only here in this match, but perhaps in the entire league. And then we saw a similar circumstance in the second goal. One that Joe Holland was able to put into the back of the net thanks to a service from Siobhan John Brown. Really threading the needle past a high back line. Joe Holland, all he had to do was just take an extra step, extra touch to force Yetmir Kovacevic into a wide position, and that allowed Joe Holland to bury that goal 10 out of 10 times. And of course, last but certainly not least, in the 45th minute of action, we did see Tristino, the number 9 for today's game, with his 5th goal of the season, likewise from a blink and you miss it play, where suddenly the ball just arrived at his feet, almost in a miraculous, if not angelic fashion, where all he had to do was pick which corner he wanted to slot it to. The option at the end was the far post, and he did so excellently to make it 3-0. But again, we look at all these goals, and what do they have in common? Change of speed and good off-the-ball positioning. New York Pancyprian Freedoms must maintain this sort of acceleration, especially when it comes to their well-timed positioning. Now we look at Richmond County Football Club, who is down 3-0 in the scoreline. Yes, you can look at this from a defensive standpoint and say, perhaps the defense must improve, but that would be somewhat elementary considering that you're already down 3-0. You need to look for goals, you need to look for points. Yes, you do have a 4-point gap, but you have the potential of overtaking 8th and giving yourself a larger safety net. So in order to accomplish this, Richmond County FC must truly add numbers into the final third. We've said similar names over and over and over again. Adnan Zaganyor, Mark Schnatzstein, and maybe a handful of others like Ace Mohamedou Mbaye. But that's merely not enough. There must be more names involved. There must be more action from Richmond County FC, especially if it wants to escape here with what would be a miraculous point. Again, it's 3-0. And as the saying goes, nothing is impossible. But this would be a daunting task, especially when you're up against the current league leaders in the form of New York Pancyprian Freedoms. So again, those have been your keys to the game for New York Pancyprian Freedoms. Uphold that speed, and not to mention well-positioned through passes. Meanwhile, for Richmond County FC, it's to start adding numbers into the final third, considering that this team is down 3-0. It needs to look for points, considering that there's only a 4-point gap between that or this team and 10th place. As speaking of the familiar names, it's Adnan Zaganyor that will start this second half with the ball at his feet. I am Sean Cabrera. Behind the camera is Jorge Espinosa, and you are watching the Eastern Premier Soccer League on Game in Frame as Richmond County FC attempts to dig itself from a 3-goal hole. New York Pancyprian Freedoms, on the other hand, looking for some dessert here in the second half after a 3-goal feast. And of course, to those who celebrated, a belated happy Thanksgiving. Of course, one perhaps was able to feel the traffic, whether on the way back home, on the way to weekend work perhaps. Again, that holiday weekend traffic is no joke. However, it's been New York Pancyprian Freedoms that's been consistently finding those quick routes and clearly has a lot of bank in the easy pass, given this 3-goal advantage. Lobbed pass toward the left wing. There was a good idea. A lobbed pass toward Rafael Bustamante. But at the end, it is the fullback on the right-hand side that's able to take the ball away in favor of the away side. No-look pass from Jack Slaus. Pardon me, that's not Jack Slaus. The number 22. So we have seen some halftime substitutions, one of those including Thomas Gray, who enters the field of play. As being driven into an uncomfortable position is Richmond County Football Club. Never want to be retreating too much into your own half, as Richmond County Football Club once more lacking the numbers to truly harm this back line of New York Pancyprian Freedoms, who so far in this entire game have only conceded one shot on target, that is from open play. That one required a two-handed Joshua Levine save. It was a shot from outside the 18-yard box that had some swiveling movement, really some downward knuckling motion, one that the goalkeeper in black and pink was able to firmly read out, using the base of his palms to change the trajectory of that effort on goal. The weather remains the same here, although I would say it feels a touch colder, and in fact, my instincts would be right. From 32 degrees Fahrenheit, it has gone down to 31. As interfering with that play is Rafael Bustamante. Here comes Siobhan John Brown. Siobhan John Brown. It's Yetmir with a futsal-like save from outside his 18-yard box. Technically not labeled a save, rather a block, but still you got to give the goalkeeper some credit, taking a gamble and hitting the net-minding equivalent of a jackpot. Again, Yetmir Kovacevic showing time and time again his one-on-one prowess, and that's not only exclusively applied to his penalty area, but also outside it, as seen right there. As Bustamante is unable to fully take the ball away, it's Richmond County FC that attempts a blind cross. Adnan Zaganyor somehow got some airtime. Richmond County FC hitting the side netting at the end. Although some Staten Islanders are asking for a corner kick, claiming that there was a deviation on the ball. I can't say that I had seen that. I'm inclined to agree with the referee's decision, who at the end is firm with it. But not a bad effort from Richmond County Football Club, despite not having the numbers in the penalty area. Had it not been for Adnan Zaganyor, I'm not sure that Richmond County FC would have had that sort of chance. As Ace Mohamedou Ndaye, with some zonal defending that at the end wins his side a throw-in. As the throw-in is taken by Peter Gini, the number 18 for today, toward Ace Mohamedou Ndaye, who immediately encountered a brick wall in the form of Jordan Bailon. Back to Yetmir. Yetmir toward the left-hand side where he has a fullback waiting. Adnan Zaganyor. unable to outpace, I should say, the number 18 for this side, Devin Hino. So again, Forster scored the first goal. Joe Holland scored the second, and Tristino scored the third. First goal coming as a result of a rebound off a Siobhan John Brown effort. The second goal involving that same exact name, though this time he provides an official assist. And the third goal from Tristino was practically a blink and you miss it sequence, as Thomas Gray quickly scans over his right shoulder before playing it toward the left, interestingly. It's now along the right wing. Richmond County FC not trying to concede a fourth. Whoa! That would have been some firecracker. Nearly testing Yetmir toward the far post. Came down with a lot of venom at the end. Not a bad effort whatsoever. Hard to truly confirm who had pulled the trigger in that sequence, though I'm inclined to say that it might have been Rosero, which, if that were the case, wouldn't surprise me too much, considering that Junior Rosero has a knack for some long distance shots. Always putting a lot of swaz when it comes to blasting with that right leg. That's practically a cannon. And in fact, it was Rosero. Zagañor. Not needed necessarily for that aerial duel, but his presence does help his number 23, Christopher Genie, in winning back the ball. Of course, throughout 2024, New York Pancyprian Freedoms has been celebrating its 50th anniversary. And although we are in the last month of the 2024 calendar year, I would like to extend a belated congratulations, of course, to this club that has helped reshape New York City soccer, especially at the fundamental levels. That being said, though, it's one of the new faces to New York City soccer, and in fact to Staten Island soccer as a whole, Richmond County Football Club, that has a corner kick here. It will be an outward swinger, judging by his stance. He raises two arms, various white jerseys, toward the near post. Ace Mahamadou Ndaye trying to use the heel instead with a sliding bicycle kick of sorts, with Schnattstein crossed, a cross-gone shot that at the end upsets Zagañor and company. While I do admire ambition from a forward, when you have those sorts of opportunities and those many jerseys of your teammates inside the penalty area, sometimes you have to stop and ask yourself, is this really the right decision? Because maybe thinking about the headlines, and I get it that you're behind 3-0 in the scoreline, but perhaps not the best decision to make there, especially opting to blast it with so much power that it nearly makes its way beyond the venue. Ace Mahamadou Ndaye has Adnan Zagañor right in front of him. Instead, he plays it laterally toward a nearby Angelo Quintanilla, who's forced to drop it back toward Peter Genie. Peter Genie has Rafael Bustamante marking him closely. Bustamante not able to fully take the ball away. Genie has Ace Mahamadou Ndaye right in front of him. Instead, attacks it along the right wing where Saramutin is waiting. Now to Ace Mahamadou Ndaye. It's with Pietro Jove. Toward the left wing it goes. Jove with the half spin. Dropping it back toward Christopher Genie. From Genie to Genie. Yet they're still looking for some magic here. It's still 3-0. All in favor of New York Pancyprian Freedoms. Siobhan John Brown looking for his second assist. He is onside. He is inside the penalty area. Wide and only just. That was Tristino, who was looking not only for a second goal in this game, but simultaneously looking for a penalty. Really hard to contest whether that was penalty worthy. I would label that as aggressive defending over an illegal kind. Regardless, Tristino with not a bad shot whatsoever while going down to the ground, getting the last piece of contact that just managed to sneak by Yetmir. It at the end just barely scrapes the far post. An inch or two closer, that surely would have been woodworking in. And that would have accomplished a brace for the number 9 for New York Pancyprian Freedoms as the match restarts from that drop ball after it had collided momentarily with the arbitrator for today. As Bustamante plays it toward a nearby midfielder, specifically in the form of Matthew Forster, who scored that first goal. In fact, Forster filling in almost that center forward niche, bouncing off the upper arm, practically the shoulder of that New York Pancyprian Freedom, as Tristino is brought down. Now that was what you would label as illegal defending, as previously stated. Losing his cool there. Referee not in a hurry to pull out the yellow card, perhaps. Maybe a touch of malice in that late challenge, if you could label it as that. So now the question is, who will take this set piece? Junior Rosero aligns this ball. Siobhan John Brown is to his left. So for now, Siobhan John Brown is the closest player, though now it's hard to tell. They keep switching back and forth. They're practically tangoing with the ball and with one another at this rate. So it's hard to tell who will be the final set piece taker, as Rosero ends up hitting the barrier. Rosero, thinking about the spotlight, blindly volleys it, and it soars over the crossbar. I was expecting some trickery. Some set-piece strategy straight off the practice grounds, but instead, it's a free kick that never tests Yetmir, who has had a handful of saves in this game that deserves some accolade, including a kick save, as Ace Mahamadou Ndaye keeps the ball barely in bounds. 100% of that ball had not gone out of play. As a shoulder-to-shoulder charge favors New York Pancyprian Freedoms, Peter Gini merely walks this ball out of bounds. And now suddenly the winds have built up here. (31 degrees Fahrenheit). Though it feels like 28 according to the latest weather reports. And let me tell you, we are certainly feeling that. Hard to disagree, maybe even colder. Although the winds are currently 5 miles per hour, but the gusts increase up to 15 miles per hour as this one is crossed just on the edge of the 6-yard box. Here comes Richmond County FC, hoping to test the goalkeeper in black and pink, Joshua Levine, but instead it wins itself a corner kick, played toward the near angle here, given our view, as Ace Mahamadou Ndaye stands over the ball, so this should be an outward swinger. He is right-footed after all. Still 3-0, Richmond County Football Club looking to change that. Has a little over a half hour left in order to do so. Ndaye crossing it toward the far post. Siobhan John Brown with an impressive jump, as well as clearance that gains just enough space as that ball trickles the boundary and eventually goes out of play for a goal kick. And in this second half, it is my sole duty to remind you that today's Game and Frame broadcast has been brought to you by Salt Athletic. Salt Athletic has made the world's freshest, most advanced cleat bag to save athletes as well as their nearest and dearest from smelly footwear after the game. The air case blocks smell using antimicrobial technology that makes for odor-free car rides and houses. Learn more about air case and place your order by clicking the link below. Keep it fresh. As New York Pancyprian Freedoms has won itself a throw-in here, I believe.
not too far away from the halfway line, in fact. Give or take 10 to 15 yards away. And I might have not have majored in physics back in my alma mater, but I could certainly attest that the cold conditions will change the physics and trajectory of that ball. At least coming from a goalkeeping standpoint, the cold almost makes the ball feel a lot harder. And maybe we'll see that later. But for now, it's Peter Gini who was able to intercept that ball, as Ace Mohamedou Ndaye attempting to switch the play toward Adnan Zagagnon. Again, they need to add numbers. We're only seeing Mark Schnatzstein and Adnan Zagagnon, both impressive players. However, it's not enough to beat this New York Pancyprian Freedom back line. It will take a lot more resources for the cavalry here. So when it comes to playing against, again, teams that are right now in the top 3 standings of the Eastern Premier Soccer League Metropolitan Conference, Richmond County Football Club has a record of 0 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie. Of course, this being the 3rd match, but assuming the result stands, that would be the 2nd loss. The first came via a stalemate versus Lansdowne Yonkers, as that one does bounce off the head of a Pancyprian Freedom. Some claiming for a handball, interestingly. Well, to me, it had bounced off his left cheek, unless he had somehow defended his face so quickly that I missed it. As Siobhan John Brown aimed it toward Junior Rosero. It's Richmond County Football Club that tries to give New York Pancyprian Freedoms a taste of its own medicine. But once more, it's only Adnan Zagagnon that is inside the penalty area. That being said, Richmond County FC have somehow won themselves a corner kick. But again, one must wonder, where is Pietro Jove in that instance? Where are the other wingers in that instance? Where's Ace Mohamedou Ndaye, who, yes, has been performing quite well in this game, but there needs to be reinforcement to Adnan Zagagnon, as well as Mark Schnatzstein for that moment. 6 white jerseys inside the penalty area, cross toward the near post, ultimately toward nobody. A shot from way downtown, practically from the Brooklyn Queens Expressway, and it goes out of play for a goal kick. Call that an effort from about 35 yards out, if not 30 at closest. It is important to note that Richmond County FC is playing with a front line of 2. In fact, it almost looks like a 3-4-1-2 formation. But in doing so, they're trying to overload the midfield and not investing enough in the final third. And even then, we haven't seen too many battles won by Richmond County FC in the neutral third. As Bustamante throws that ball into play. Gray playing it toward the nearby Samir Fatahazada, with the goalkeeper Joshua Levine, who plays it toward a nearby fullback, specifically Jordan Bailon. Claims of a foul, referee waves them away. Siobhan John Brown toward a nearby midfielder, evades 2 at the same time. Some excellent improvisation that's only followed up with a needless giveaway that somehow wins a throw-in. And I can't help but feel that the coldness and hardness of the ball might have not have favored the cleat right there of the fullback, who 9 out of 10 times would have been controlling that. But with these frosty conditions, well, what can you do against Mother Nature? New York Pancyprian Freedoms. Not allowing Adnan Zagañor to play it forward. He has to drop it back toward a nearby Pietro Giove, if I'm not mistaken. Back to Mark Schnatstein, who with a no-look pass ultimately gives the ball away. It's Pietro Giove who re-wins the sphere at his feet. Back to one of two genies, specifically Peter Genie. Christopher Genie was willing to overlap on the farther end, as Ace Mohamedou Ndaye shares a chat with the referee. As Angelo Quintanilla pleads his case to the referee, and at least he receives some acknowledgement from the arbitrator, albeit one that doesn't result in any foul at the end. But sometimes it does feel all right to get that extra piece of insurance from the referee, as this one is crossed toward Adnan Zagañor. Ultimately, not threatened is the back line of New York Pancyprian Freedoms, as they attempt to switch the play. In fact, drastically quick, maybe a little too quick, as Kovacevic is able to pick up the ball right on the edge of his own 18-yard box. For now, 0 goals in this second half after 21 minutes of action. In other words, we have approached the 67th minute. No goals in this second half, all 3 coming in the first. Siobhan John Brown unleashes an audible cry, one that doesn't gain the sympathy of the referee. Richmond County FC forced to retreat into its own half. It was specifically at the feet of Saramutin. Speaking of Valery Saramutin, that option for that quick 1-2 with Mark Schnatstein is now with Demian Turi. And they just can't seem to chip away at this defensive unit. A remarkable defensive core, practically the best in the entire EPSL. We're not only exclusively talking here the Metropolitan Conference, we are again talking about the Delaware River Conference, the Metropolitan Conference, the Mid-Atlantic Conference, as well as the other conference, of course, in the Eastern Premier Soccer League. No other team has allowed less goals than New York Pancyprian Freedom statistically. As Rafael Bustamante pressures Peter Genie, Mark Schnatstein. Schnatstein unable to fully control the ball, but he does win himself a throw-in. Adnan Zagañor, who has seemed unbeatable when it comes to the aerial game, drops it back, and it's a shot gone wide. No deviation on that shot, and it almost feels like a waste of an opportunity. Nobody marking him at the end. It was Valery Saramutin who had pulled the trigger from inside the 18-yard box, call it a shot from about 16 yards out. And when you have those sorts of chances anywhere, let alone inside the penalty area, you have to make the goalkeeper sweat a bit. Even if it's a shot that just barely misses, you're at least making the goalkeeper panic. In this instance, Joshua Levine hardly moved. Not necessarily the right contact, but Richmond County Football Club, for now, is attempting to respond, so there is a silver lining there. Bustamante keeping the ball in play once more. Not 100% of that sphere had exited. Yatmir Kovacevic has Ace Mohamedou Ndaye nearby, but instead plays it toward Peter Genie on the right wing. Genie, as we have approached the 70th minute now. Just a little over 20 minutes left, 20 minutes and a handful of seconds. Still 3-0. The best opportunity of the second half for New York Pancyprian Freedoms came from Tristino, who nearly found his second goal toward the far post from a breakaway. instead was looking for the penalty that the referee never even gave. That being said, still an impressive shot while he was tumbling to the ground. New York Pancyprian Freedoms still in possession of the ball, as well as the scoreboard here. Close to 10 unbeaten matches in this season of the EPSL. Assuming the result stands, it would be 9 wins and 1 draw. That sole draw coming against Lansdowne Yonkers FC, as Adnan Zagañor toward Pietro Giove. Pietro Giove squeezes past to Giove, back to Zagañor. Dummy pass towards Schnatstein. Well, it's a good effort at the end, trying to win himself something out of nothing. And in fact, he's able to generate a corner kick. Some ingenious plays as well from Pietro Giove, who was able to glide past to at a simultaneous rate. And by Adnan Zagañor, who opted not to involve himself directly in the play, but instead contributing via a dummy pass. As Ace Mohamedou Ndaye attempts to threaten the back line, and it never even made its way toward the first post. Ndaye likewise releasing a vocal cry of frustration, knowing that he should have gotten more airtime with that service. As a Pancyprian Freedom is down on the ground, and a Richmond County FC player has been booked, though it's hard to confirm whom it could have been. The one thing is for certain, it is a booking against Richmond County FC. The nearest player in that vicinity would have been Valery Saramutin. I'm not so sure that he was the one who had committed the contact. We have made it past the 72nd minute. As things are still the same since the halftime whistle, 3-0 in favor of Pancyprian Freedoms. A blind pass that grants for a simple interception, as Pietro Giove being asked by Peter Gini for the pass. Likewise asking for the pass as Christopher Gini. There's some late collisions there. The referee signaling for a foul and going to take out the yellow card as well against Ace Mohamedou Ndaye. There's no question about that one. A rash challenge by Ace Mohamedou Ndaye against Rafael Bustamante. As Ace Mohamedou Ndaye offers his apologies, though likewise grunts his disgruntlements, as to be expected from a player who is booked. As we are seeing some substitutions here for both sides. We'll shortly confirm who has entered, as it's currently at the feet, or only momentarily at the feet, of Devin Hinu. Play toward the right wing, threatening the back line. Though not enough to win himself a corner kick, it will be a goal kick instead for the Staten Island side. Siobhan John Brown still in action and easily making himself once more that de facto nominee for player of the match. And it's all the way back to Yetmir. I can only wonder what head coach Brekanovic must be thinking with this scoreline. Now, to be fair, to play your 3 away matches in successive fashion against the top 3 teams of the Metropolitan Conference is a fearsome task that not a lot of teams can really escape with fortune, let alone with a positive result. But again, there's that silver lining that this team was able to tie with Lansdowne Yonkers FC, as Peter Gini decelerates for a moment before dropping the ball back toward one of the latest faces here in this game, Giuseppe Barone. Giuseppe, unable to get full control on the ball. Pietro Giove taking that ball away for now. And speaking of Richmond County Football Club, again, a tough last 3 away matches, including today. It's not really seen too much success throughout the entire season. Only 2 wins, and in fact, only 1 win in its last 7 matches. As Mark Schnattstein asks for the pass, not sure he'll be granted it, however. There's a lot of traffic in the way, and at the end it ends up in the gloves of Joshua Levine. Rosero playing it along the right wing. New York Pancyprian Freedom still hungry for the 4th. Entering now inside the penalty area. A cross that goes toward the second post, but also beyond the reach of any sort of blue jersey. So Richmond County Football Club started its campaign with a 4-2 win versus SC Vistula Garfield. Followed that performance up with a 1-1 tie at Doxa FCW. Followed that performance up with a home loss, a 2-1 losing affair versus Central Park Rangers. Afterward, had suffered a 4-1 defeat at home at the hands of Hoboken FC. Afterward, suffered an away loss. In fact, its first of the season at that point, against New York Athletic Club in a 1-0 finale. Was able to change perhaps its luck with a 5-1 win at the home of Zoomschneider FC, the same team who is currently at the bottom of the standings, currently in the relegation zone. And maybe perhaps its most impressive feat of the season, Richmond County Football Club was able to tie 1-1 at the home of Lansdowne Yonkers FC. As Javon, as well as a teammate, were able to momentarily strip the ball away, and in fact, it is the latter that takes it away. It's with Samir Fatahazada, still with New York Pancyprian Freedoms, for the 4th! Yes, for the 4th, of course! Goal! New York Pancyprian Freedoms! 4th goal in this match, 1st goal in this second half. All with 12 minutes left, and it's a thunderous finish toward the bottom corner that was always going to beat Yetmir. In fact, it would beat any goalkeeper. 4-0 is the scoreline in favor of New York Pancyprian Freedoms, who has controlled this game from start to finish, though there are still 11.5 minutes left before the 90th minute itself. Smooth takeaway as well from Siobhan John Brown, as well as Samir Fatahazada. A tandem duo effort that results in this 4th goal. So of the 4 goals scored here, Siobhan has involved himself in 3 of those, even in an indirect manner. Yes, he has 1 assist, but he did help in that last sequence, or ultimate sequence, likewise, to make it 4-0. His shot on target resulted in the rebound for Forster to make it 1-0. In reality, I believe the only goal he wasn't involved in was the 3rd goal by New York Pancyprian Freedom, scored by Tristino. So again, 3 out of the 4 goals, Siobhan John Brown had his name mentioned just mere seconds beforehand. As New York Pancyprian Freedoms might have just given the ball away in the final third for Richmond County Football Club. The question is, can the Staten Islanders take advantage as he receives the ball just on the edge of the penalty area and penalty arc now? As he chops it inward, some fancy left-footed movement! Left Joshua Levine standing and glancing at that ball. Not a bad left-footed effort whatsoever. Never made its way toward the goal in terms of a shot on target, but it was still enough to scare Levine as well as the rear guard of New York Pancyprian Freedoms. Scoreline remains the same, however, and that's perhaps the only disappointing factor for Richmond County Football Club. And we last left on that 1-1 tie at Lansdowne Yonkers FC. It was then shut out in a 2-0 defeat at New York Greek American Soccer Club before we could expand upon that. New York Pancyprian Freedoms inside the penalty area had the ball poked away. A last-minute prod with the tip of the cleat was just enough to avoid the concession of a fifth. So again, it suffered that 2-0 defeat at the hands of New York Greek American Soccer Club, one that really perhaps could have had grander consequences given that New York Greek American Soccer Club was playing with 10 men at one point since the first half, or latter minutes of the first half. New York Pancyprian Freedoms looking for the fifth, drives it forward. Rosero with a Rabona pass, a collision. Ultimately done out of desperation. And we talked about it in the first half. And now that original statement appears to be true. Wherever Richmond County FC goes, yellow cards do follow. And that goes for both sides, whether it's for or against Richmond County Football Club. It, of course, does show the aggressive on and off the ball style of play from the Staten Island team. But one must also realize at what cost, given that right now it is 4-0, and New York Pancyprian Freedoms has been a side in this match that has largely and namely been in the driver's seat. Rafael Bustamante, back to Joshua Levine, inside, or now just outside his own 18-yard box, playing it toward the 6-yard box. A risky piece of play from the goalkeeper. Normally you would just boot it out of play or play it straight down the side. Instead, playing it centrally toward the 6-yard box. And in fact, it might have paid out here. He's onside, still inside the 18-yard box. Switch play, still live for New York Pancyprian Freedoms. A delayed offside flag is delivered and is raised by the assistant referee on the far end. Good improvisation from New York Pancyprian Freedoms. That was maybe just an inch or two away from what could have been the fifth. It was Konstantinos Sioros who was offside. Rafael Bustamante, the nearest to mark. As Bustamante caught in a sandwich right now, deciding whether he should mark zonally or mark man-to-man. And at the end, Ace Mohamedou Ndaya tries to take advantage, still with Richmond County FC. Some left-footed dribbles that ultimately ends in an interception for Siobhan John Brown. Back toward Konstantinos Sioros. All the way back to the back line where Thomas Gray is waiting, or pardon me, that's Devin Hinu. Alongside him is Thomas Gray. Along the right wing, that ball still in play and only just practically teasing the touchline before it exits the field of play for a throw-in, as we have just a little bit over 5 minutes left here. Well, 4 goals in 5 minutes plus stoppage time is near impossible. I can't remember the last time a team has scored so many goals within that range. I've seen teams before score goals, 3 goals within 12-minute ranges, even 10-minute ranges, even at the Major League Soccer level. But I can't say I've seen 4 and 5. But we'll see how much stoppage time will be aggregated as Richmond County Football Club looks for a response. Played out wide toward Ndaye, just outside the penalty area, and that's a cross that's wasted at the end. He knows it himself, judging by his body language. A right-footed curler that was really lacking, in fact, that sort of finesse. Would have been excellent for an early cross from maybe 10 yards behind. But instead, it's a giveaway of a goal kick for New York Pancyprian Freedoms, who deservedly has this 4-goal lead. Arguably all those goals coming from counterattacks. Oh, I'm not sure he was offside there. Konstantinos appeared to be onside to me. I think a little too close to call, if you ask me. In fact, I thought it was Peter Gini who had made him onside. A little unlucky for Konstantinos to not be given that sort of advantage. Though at the end, the refereeing staff appears to have no problem, nor sort of controversy, as Mark Schnatzstein plays it toward Pietro Giove. Played back toward Schnatzstein. Schnatzstein back to Giove. Giove has Peter Gini approaching him, but instead played quickly toward Jacob Szymanski, who hasn't seen too much ball time in this match. As now we're seeing that previous 3-4-1-2 formation transfigure itself into a 3-4-3 formation, with Ace Mohamedou Ndaye enacting as a right winger, as that ball has exited the field of play. Throw and taken quickly, not wasting any time, is Bustamante. Konstantinos completely onside, looking to punish the side for a 5th time. The Staten Islanders to concede a 5th. It makes its way past the goalkeeper. Konstantinos! Goal! 5-0! Konstantinos with a convincing finish, 5-holing the goalkeeper at the very end, punishing the goalkeeper for his futsal style-like play, straight down the middle, between the goalkeeper's legs. Frustrating for any netminder, rewarding for any forward. Konstantinos makes it 5-0. And at this rate, the away side is just looking for a consolation goal. I am all for optimism, especially in the sportive world, or in the sporting world for that matter, but when you need to score 5 goals to come away with a point in about 100 seconds or so, it is practically impossible. A consolation goal now would be a huge silver lining, serving practically as a moral victory, given that they can't get the 3 points here, not even the splitting of 1. Well, if this were a Thanksgiving dinner and they had to split the wishbone of a turkey, I would be inclined to say that New York Pancyprian Freedoms has in fact taken away the wishbone as a whole, not even opting to split it with its opponent. Siobhan John Brown with some low press defending. The same cannot be said, however, for Samir Fatahazada, who has involved himself on various occasions with Siobhan, as Rosero with a no-look left-footed pass connects once more with Konstantinos. Konstantinos, who already scored the 5th, is denied a 6th goal here for his side. So according to the EPSL for Konstantinos, that is his first goal of the season. In fact, if we look at the general score here, Joe Holland, oh, actually, before we could even expand upon that, maybe the 6th is not too far away. Or perhaps so. Even some jests from the home side bench. And in fact, that will be the final touch of the ball. And after the full 90 minutes in this EPSL affair, in this December night match, it is New York Pancyprian Freedoms that will exit this home venue with a powerful 5-0 victory over its Staten Island foes, Richmond County Football Club. Again, 5-0. Bang, bang play every single time, finding the back of the net, not once, not twice, not 3 times, not even 4, but instead a convincing 5. New York Pancyprian Freedoms now unbeaten across 10 Eastern Premier Soccer League matches, 9 of which have ended in victories. And of course, needless to say, New York Pancyprian Freedoms maintains its spot at the top of the Metropolitan Conference table. However, that being said, do stay tuned for some post-match action. Again, you have been watching the Eastern Premier Soccer League on Game in Frame.
Holland, Rosero, beautiful Junior Rosero! Well, that was an emphatic strike.
Cisse pushing forward. Looking up to see who he can pass the ball to. Takes a shot instead and scores!
They'll punch it back in. For 1, great save. A second, that almost came up on the handle. Gottlieb, his chance is still gone, and not away. That's 2 saves for Priyanka.
Sebastian Ruiz. That's Brighton, great ball! Solano equalises for Renegades! And the cup dream is alive once again!
He spins very well, once, not once, but twice.
Dropped the possession right back to the feet of Clift. Clift slides one in.
Diving header, Bonfils for 2.
So good all game, Chang, but it's one back, and Kershuba could be in now, and Kershuba, what a save that is!
Looks like it was a handball claim for the team in black. And Perez is out of net, and Body finds the net, and he scores!
Cristino, oh, it's a beautiful flick on Argudo. Does he take it himself? Yes, he does!
It'll be Bacon shooting for the far post. It's in! She beat the goalkeeper to the far post, and it's 1-0. Bacon with a free kick.
If he misses this, Renegades are very nearly home. Edward saves it! The fairy tale is within Renegades' grasp! This from his man to Campos, and Campos says, oh, he just took it away from him. And now Marti across to Rura, and Mark Rura, goal!
Well, Cifuentes Diaz making the defenders do the Cupid shuffle.
He's got tons of space to maybe have an effort, and streaking through the right-hand side is Al-Sabi, and Pidgeot shoots, and what a finish that is.
Perhaps they'll look to let the seconds bleed like this. Instead, it's a giveaway for Dambeli!
Here goes Jimmy. Over to Barry, the man in question. Barry takes a long shot and scores!
Are they going to their first ever Open Cup? Redemption for Oscar Rivas! And a fairy tale ending to a fairy tale week for New York Renegades!
My name is Austin Brummett. I'm a men's soccer player at San Diego State University, and I play forward. The salt air case helps block odor from my cleats when I'm driving in my car or when I'm keeping my cleats inside my house, so I don't have to worry about it stinking up my room. It helps me keep track of my cleats and my shin guards, so I know that they're together, and I don't have to worry about tracking them down or losing them or stressing out about where they are. I would definitely rock this, walking to the games, walking around to my trainings. And it's super helpful for travel. When I travel in the airport to go to away games, it's not going to stink up my backpack or stink up the plane where I'm sitting. Magnetic strip on the top It's super easy to open, to take my cleats out and to put my cleats back in. I think it's an essential part of my outfit for soccer and helps keep all my stuff organized and stink-free.
That's a good bit of footwork there by Spalding. It's gone for a spaceship shot! It's magnificent by Spalding!
We are live from Queens, New York, where New York Pancyprian Freedoms was able to edge its opponent in a 5-goal affair versus Richmond County FC. Again, a 5-0 shutout victory. Alongside me is Siobhan John Brown, star forward who, by my count, was involved in 3 of those 4 goals. But let's talk first about that registered assist you got when you were able to pinpoint Joe Holland from quite a distance. Tell me, how were you able to read that back line so well and just find Joe Holland in a perfect spot?
Man, like me and Joe, we've been playing for a couple of years, so it's just a natural connection, you know. You run in behind, coach called it, hold it up, spread it wide, and then just find guys in behind, and he made a good run, and made a good pass, and he was able to finish.
Fair enough there, but let's talk now about those other goals. Again, I said 3 of 4, I should say 3 of 5, pardon my count there. 3 of 5 goals, you were involved. In other words, 3 of the first 4, I should say, somehow you were able to have your name mentioned just seconds before. We look about that first goal, for example, right? Rebound off your shot, in comes Forster, he buries it. Second goal, you gave that assist. And then we look when it made it 4-0. That was when you, as well as a teammate, I believe Sadim, both teamed up against one single defender to strip it away and play toward the right wing. So was this always the plan for the vanguard, for the front line of New York Pancyprian Freedoms, to play with such an aggressive front line defensively?
Yeah, I mean, we 10 games undefeated, and I got in the locker room, and like coach said, we going to play like just join the guys on how they've been playing, like straight up press, and if you press them well, they don't have options, you win the ball and you go attack the defense and they're ready to defend. And we did that and we got goals.
So the front line is in fact the first line of defense per your words, and you mentioned 10 matches unbeaten. 9 of those have ended in victories. This has been a 5-0 affair, one of the largest of the season so far. Now, your following match is against New York Greek American Soccer Club. Always a classic clash between those two. So what does having a 5-0 win in addition to a 10-match unbeaten streak so far this season means not only for you, but for all the blue jerseys in that locker room right now?
I mean, the guys know every game is a challenge. We're undefeated, so teams going to be coming, they're running off from the jump. We just got to keep our composure and keep going forward, fighting.
So composure is the key at the very end, something that you and your teammates clearly had presented right here in this St. John's University venue. So Siobhan, congratulations on the assist, on the win, and do try to stay warm because I could only imagine we are both freezing here.
Man, just break us out, man. I just want to go home. I just want.
Well, you're free now. You're free.
All right,
Thank you very much,
Thank
man.
you.
You take care. All right. So you heard it here first. So on behalf of Jorge Espinosa, I have been Sean Cabrera, and we both thank you for tuning into this transmission of the Eastern Premier Soccer League on Game and Frame, where New York Pancyprian Freedoms wins 5-0 versus Richmond County FC. Thank you very much, and have a good night.